There are words that change everything. Words that reveal exactly who someone really is beneath the mask they've been wearing. Words that should make you pack your bags and never look back. Today we're talking about 6 phrases that some people use in relationships. Phrases that aren't just red flags, they're relationship death sentences. These aren't slips of the tongue or heat of the moment mistakes. These are calculated revelations of how someone truly sees you, and once you hear them, there's no unhearing them. Before we dive in, let me be clear. This isn't about demonizing anyone. This is about recognizing when someone's words reveal fundamental incompatibility, disrespect, or manipulation that makes a healthy relationship impossible. Both men and women can say unforgivable things. Today we're focusing on specific phrases that reveal toxic patterns, whoever says them. Because here's the truth. When someone tells you who they are through their words, you need to believe them the first time. The first phrase that should end any relationship immediately. You owe me. Not could you help me, not I need support, but you owe me. This phrase transforms love into a transaction, partnership into servitude, affection into obligation. When someone says this, they're not expressing need. They're expressing entitlement to your resources, your time, your life. I had a client whose partner would constantly remind him of his obligations. You owe me a nice life because I gave you children. You owe me luxury because I'm with you. You owe me happiness because that's what men do. Notice the pattern. In her mind, his entire existence was about servicing her needs. He wasn't a partner, he was an ATM with feelings she didn't care about. Here's what's particularly toxic about this phrase. It's never reciprocal. The person who says you owe me never asks what they owe you. They've created a one-way debt system where you're perpetually paying for the privilege of their presence. You work, you owe them money. You don't work enough, you owe them more time. You exist, you owe them happiness. It's emotional loan sharking with interest rates that would make the mob blush. The you owe me person will weaponize everything. Your children become tools of manipulation. A real father would, if you loved your kids, you'd. They're not appealing to your love, they're exploiting it. They're taking the most beautiful parts of your life, your desire to provide, your love for family, and turning them into chains. When someone says you owe me, what they're really saying is I don't love you, I love what you provide. They're telling you that your value isn't inherent, it's conditional on what you can do for them. And no matter how much you give, it will never be enough, because entitlement is a bottomless pit that consumes everything and appreciates nothing. The second phrase that should end everything, I don't owe you anything. Now wait, you might think this contradicts what I just said, but context is everything. This phrase isn't about establishing healthy boundaries, it's about establishing that you don't matter. It's the battle cry of someone who wants all the benefits of a relationship with none of the responsibilities. I don't like you hanging out with female colleagues. Well, I hang out with whoever I want, I don't owe you anything. I'm uncomfortable with you texting your ex at 2 a.m. You're not my owner, I don't owe you anything. See the pattern? They're not asserting independence. They're asserting that your feelings are irrelevant. Your comfort, your boundaries, your needs, all dismissed with 5 words. The person who says this is telling you exactly where you rank in their life. Nowhere. They'll take your love, your support, your resources, but the moment you need something, even basic respect, suddenly they owe you nothing. They're keeping you at arm's length while keeping their hand in your pocket. I counselled someone whose partner would use this phrase like a weapon. He'd work overtime to pay for her lifestyle, but when he asked her to stop flirting with other men on social media, I don't owe you anything. He'd support her through her problems, but when he needed emotional support, I'm not your therapist, I don't owe you anything. She wanted a provider, not a partner, and this phrase was how she maintained the distance. The third phrase that reveals everything, all men are trash the same. When someone says this, they're not just insulting men in general, they're telling you that you're trash too. They're saying that no matter what you do, no matter how you behave, no matter how much you care, you're predetermined to be garbage in their eyes. This person has already decided you're guilty before you've done anything wrong. They're not in a relationship with you, they're in a relationship with their projection of what men are. Every action you take will be filtered through this lens. Forgot to take out the trash. Typical man, working late to provide. Just like all men, married to work, show emotion. Men are so weak, don't show emotion. Men are emotionally unavailable. The woman who says all men are trash is telling you she's a professional victim. She's been hurt before, haven't we all? But instead of healing, she's chosen to make victimhood her identity. She enters relationships not to love, but to gather more evidence for her thesis that men are terrible. You're not her partner, you're her next disappointment, and she's already writing the story of how you'll fail her. I've seen men waste years trying to prove they're different, that they're not like other men. But here's the truth. You can't prove a negative to someone committed to seeing it. You'll exhaust yourself trying to be perfect, while she waits for you to prove her right. And when you inevitably make a human mistake, see? All men are trash. I knew it. This phrase also reveals a deep lack of accountability. If all men are trash, then she bears no responsibility for her relationship choices or behaviour. It's not that she picks unavailable men or creates conflict. It's that all men are inherently bad. This external locus of control means she'll never grow, never change, never take responsibility. Everything will always be your fault because of your gender. The fourth phrase that should send you running. Well, I'm just a girl, woman. This isn't someone acknowledging biological differences. This is someone using their gender as an excuse for any behaviour. Forgot something important. I'm just a girl. Spent the rent money on shoes. You know how women are. Threw a tantrum in public. I'm emotional because I'm a woman. This phrase is weaponized incompetence and manipulation rolled into one. The person saying this has decided that their gender absolves them of all accountability. They can be irresponsible, dishonest, cruel, manipulative, and it's all excused because of their chromosomes. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card, and they'll play it every time they're called on their behaviour. What's particularly insidious is how this plays on protective instincts. Many men are raised to protect and provide for women, and manipulators know this. By playing the helpless woman card, they're exploiting your socialization to avoid consequences. But notice, they're only helpless when it benefits them. When it comes to demanding things or making decisions that favour them, suddenly they're very capable. I knew someone whose partner used this constantly. She'd make terrible financial decisions, then say, I'm just not good with money, I'm a girl. She'd start fights, then say, I'm just emotional, it's how women are. She was 38 years old, calling herself a girl, taking zero responsibility for anything. The infantilization was strategic. Children aren't held accountable, and neither was she. The fifth phrase that reveals true character, if you loved me, you would. This is emotional blackmail, pure and simple. It's taking your love and weaponizing it against you. If you loved me, you'd buy me that bag. If you loved me, you'd skip your friend's wedding. If you loved me, you'd let me go through your phone. It's manipulation dressed up as romance. The person who says this doesn't believe in your love. They believe in your usefulness. Love for them isn't about connection or caring. It's about compliance. Every proof of love you provide just raises the bar for the next test. Bought the bag? Now it's a car. Skipped the wedding. Now it's cutting off that friend entirely. Gave phone access. Now it's tracking apps. This phrase creates a no-win situation. Either you comply and lose yourself piece by piece, or you refuse and get accused of not loving them. But here's the truth. Someone who genuinely loves you would never put you in that position. Real love doesn't require constant proof through sacrifice. Real love doesn't test, it trusts. I've watched men bankrupt themselves trying to prove love to someone who views love as currency. One client sold his father's watch, a family heirloom, because if you loved me, you'd prioritize our future over some old watch. 6 months later, she left him for someone with more money. The watch was gone, the money was gone, she was gone, and he finally understood. It was never about love. The sixth and most revealing phrase, just leave then, said during arguments, thrown around casually, used as punctuation to any disagreement. This person is holding the relationship hostage. They're telling you that your options are complete compliance or abandonment. There's no discussion, no compromise, no working through problems, just their way or the highway. But here's what they don't expect, for you to actually leave. Because this phrase is usually a bluff, a manipulation tactic designed to make you panic and comply. They're betting on your fear of being alone, your investment in the relationship, your love for them. They're gambling that you'll fold rather than call their bluff. The person who regularly says just leave then doesn't value the relationship, they value control. They're willing to risk everything to win an argument. They'd rather be right than be together. And eventually this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Say it enough times, and one day your partner realizes you're right. They should just leave. I counselled a couple where she would say this constantly. Every disagreement ended with, "If you don't like it, leave." He'd back down every time, terrified of losing her. Until one day, during another just leave ultimatum about something trivial, he wanted to watch the game instead of her show. He said, "Okay," and packed his bags. The shock on her face was telling. It was never supposed to be real. It was supposed to be a lever for control. These 6 phrases aren't just words, they're worldviews. When someone says you owe me, they see you as a resource. When they say I don't owe you anything, they see you as optional. When they say all men are trash, they see you as predetermined failure. When they say I'm just a girl, they see accountability as optional. When they say if you loved me, they see love as leverage. When they say just leave then, they see the relationship as a power game. Now let's talk about why these phrases are particularly dangerous. First, they're progressive. They don't usually start with these blatant statements. It begins subtly, hints, suggestions, implications. By the time they're comfortable saying these things openly, you've already been conditioned to accept them. The frog has been boiling slowly, and now you're cooked. Second, they're often accompanied by intermittent reinforcement. Between these toxic phrases come moments of sweetness, affection, even apology. "I didn't mean it like that. You know I love you. I'm just stressed." This creates trauma bonding. You become addicted to the good moments and willing to endure the bad ones to get them. Third, they exploit your best qualities. Your desire to provide becomes obligation. Your capacity for forgiveness becomes enablement. Your love becomes leverage. Your commitment becomes imprisonment. The very things that make you a good partner are turned into weapons against you. Fourth, they're normalized by society. Romantic comedies show women saying these things as sassy or empowered. Social media celebrates the "if he wanted to, he would" mentality. Men are told that tolerating this is what real men do. The toxic becomes traditional. The abnormal becomes accepted. Here's what healthy communication actually looks like, so you can recognize the contrast. Healthy partners express needs without making them obligations. I would really appreciate if, instead of "you owe me," they maintain boundaries while respecting yours. I need some space, instead of "I don't owe you anything." They see you as an individual, not a representative of your gender. Healthy partners take accountability regardless of gender. They don't hide behind "that's just how women are." They express love through consistent action, not constant tests. They work through problems together instead of threatening abandonment. They build you up rather than tear you down. If you're recognizing these phrases in your relationship, here's what you need to understand. This isn't about communication problems. This isn't about stress or circumstances. This isn't about loving harder or being more understanding. This is about fundamental disrespect and incompatibility that cannot be loved away. The person saying these things has told you exactly how they see you, as a utility, not a partner, as a resource, not a person, as a role, not an individual. And no amount of couples therapy can fix someone who fundamentally doesn't respect you. You can't negotiate with someone who sees you as beneath them. I've watched men waste decades trying to prove themselves to someone who'd already decided they were worthless. They worked harder. "You still owe me more." They were more romantic, "if you really loved me." They gave up everything. "I don't owe you anything for that." The goalposts don't just move, they're on wheels, and you'll chase them until you collapse. Here's the brutal truth. When someone says these phrases, they're not asking you to be better. They're telling you you'll never be enough. They're not expressing needs. They're expressing contempt. They're not building a relationship. They're establishing dominance. And you cannot have a healthy relationship with someone who sees you as inferior. The saddest part is how these relationships end, not with the dramatic fight you might expect, but with the slow death of your spirit. You stop expressing opinions because all men's ideas are stupid. You stop having needs because "I don't owe you anything." You stop believing in your worth because "if you loved me, you'd be different." You become a ghost of who you were. I've seen successful, confident men reduced to shells after years of hearing these phrases. They question their own reality. They apologize for existing. They're grateful for scraps of affection. They've been so thoroughly broken down that they believe this is what they deserve. The psychological damage is profound and long-lasting. But here's what happens when you finally refuse to accept these phrases. Your life begins again. You remember what it's like to have opinions that matter. You rediscover interests that were mocked into hiding. You rebuild friendships that were sabotaged. You find peace you'd forgotten existed. You realize that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who diminishes you. For those still trapped in relationships with people who say these things, here's your wake-up call. It doesn't get better. They don't change. The phrases become more frequent, more cruel, more destructive. What you're experiencing isn't love, it's psychological warfare, and the only way to win is not to play. Stop trying to prove you're different from all men. Stop trying to earn basic respect. Stop accepting accountability for someone else's refusal to be accountable. Stop letting someone use your love as a weapon against you. Stop negotiating with emotional terrorists. Just stop. These phrases aren't requests for change. They're declarations of war. If someone you're dating says any of these phrases early on, consider it a gift. They've revealed themselves before you're too invested. Thank them for showing you who they are and walk away. Don't argue. Don't try to change their mind. Don't prove them wrong. Just leave. Your absence is the only response these phrases deserve. For those who've heard these phrases for years, I know leaving seems impossible. You've been programmed to believe you can't do better, that you deserve this treatment, that this is what relationships are. But that's the abuse talking, not reality. There are people who would never dream of saying these things to someone they claim to love. The financial entanglement, the children, the shared history. I know these feel like chains. But staying teaches your children that this is what relationships look like. Staying tells your friends this is what you accept. Staying tells yourself this is what you're worth. The price of staying is always higher than the price of leaving, even when leaving costs everything. Here's what I want you to understand. These phrases aren't mistakes or misunderstandings, they're choices. The person saying them is choosing to diminish you, choosing to manipulate you, choosing to disrespect you, and they're counting on you choosing to accept it. Your power lies in choosing not to. Every relationship has conflicts, but not every conflict involves these toxic phrases. Everyone gets angry, but not everyone weaponizes gender, love, or obligation. Everyone has needs, but not everyone makes them your responsibility. The difference between difficult and destructive is whether fundamental respect exists. These phrases prove it doesn't. You deserve a partner who expresses needs without making them debts, who maintains independence without dismissing your importance, who sees you as an individual, not a gender stereotype, who takes accountability for their actions, who proves love through consistency, not tests, who works through problems instead of threatening abandonment. If you're the one saying these phrases, here's your mirror. You're being abusive. Your partner deserves better. Your entitlement is showing. Your manipulation is transparent. Your contempt is obvious. Either get serious help to change these patterns or let your partner find someone who won't destroy them with words. The normalization of these phrases has to stop. We need to stop pretending that emotional manipulation is just how women are, or that men should tolerate disrespect to be real men. We need to stop celebrating toxic behavior as empowerment. We need to recognize that respect is the minimum, not the maximum, in any relationship. For those wondering if they're overreacting to these phrases, you're not. Your instinct that something is wrong is correct. That sick feeling when you hear these words is your psyche recognizing danger. That urge to leave is your self-preservation trying to save you. Listen to it. Your gut knows what your heart is trying to deny. The recovery from relationships with people who say these things takes time. You'll need to relearn your worth. You'll need to remember that your needs matter. You'll need to understand that love doesn't require constant proof or payment. You'll need to recognize that respect is normal, not exceptional, but recovery is possible, and life on the other side is worth it. Stop making excuses for why someone says these things. Their stress doesn't justify it. Their past doesn't excuse it. Their emotions don't validate it. Their gender doesn't permit it. There is no context in which these phrases become acceptable in a healthy relationship. They're always toxic, always destructive, always unforgivable. Here's the bottom line: words matter. They reveal thoughts, which reveal beliefs, which reveal character. When someone tells you, "You owe me," they believe you're their servant. When they say, "I don't owe you anything," they believe you're irrelevant. When they say all men are trash, they believe you're predetermined garbage. These aren't communication styles, they're character revelations. You get one life. Every day you spend with someone who says these things is a day you're not available for someone who wouldn't dream of saying them. Every moment you waste accepting these phrases is a moment you could be healing, growing, thriving with someone who respects you, or peacefully alone. The strongest response to these phrases isn't argument or anger, it's absence. Don't debate someone who says you owe them. Don't negotiate with someone who says they owe you nothing. Don't defend yourself to someone who's predetermined your guilt. Don't explain yourself to someone who hides behind their gender. Don't prove love to someone who weaponizes it. Don't stay with someone who threatens abandonment. Just leave. Remember this. The person who truly loves you will never say these things. They'll never make you feel like a debtor, an option, a stereotype, or a test subject. They'll never use your love against you or hold the relationship hostage. They'll never make you feel like loving them is a job you're failing at. These 6 phrases aren't just red flags, they're relationship obituaries. They're the death certificate of respect, the funeral of partnership, the burial of love. Once they're said, something fundamental is broken that cannot be fixed. The only question is whether you'll attend the funeral or keep pretending the relationship is still alive. I want to hear from you. Have you heard these phrases? How did they affect you? When did you realize they were unforgivable? Share your experiences in the comments, not to bash anyone, but to help others recognize these patterns. Sometimes seeing that others have experienced exactly what you're going through is the validation you need to finally choose yourself. Your worth isn't determined by someone else's words. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it. Your love doesn't require you to accept disrespect. Your commitment doesn't mean enduring abuse. Your relationship should add to your life, not subtract from it. And anyone who says these 6 phrases is subtracting everything while adding nothing. The choice is yours. Accept these phrases and accept a life of diminishment, or reject them and reclaim your worth. Stay with someone who says these things and watch yourself disappear, or leave and rediscover who you are. Forgive the unforgivable and enable more of it, or refuse to forgive and free yourself from it. The phrases have been said. Now what you do next determines everything.